Okay, so I'm going to show you why I'm feeling quite overwhelmed. And um, I think that a lot of, at least from my perspective, a lot of people in the planning community are in some form or fashion dealing with anxiety or depression or a mixture of the both. Um, and I think in some ways planning helps us deal with that. And I know for me, it's been not only an organizing tool, but also a creative outlet that is kind of a coping mechanism for anxiety for me. But as much as I try to veer away from the many multiple big planner releases, because I know that those create that I need feeling in me. I think I did okay. I did one big purchase with the main release a couple months ago. Um, and now, with all the other stuff trickling out, I often find myself feeling confused about what I want my planner next year to look like. And I know that sounds like such a small thing because it's material, it's paper, it's stickers, it's things that in the grand scheme of life don't matter. But when my head starts turning, it cranks up my anxiety, which causes just a slew of other things. And so, um, some of you know and some of you don't, but I used a big planner for a long time, and then I decided to try a classic for September, and in true anxiety fashion, I got a sense of overwhelming towards the end of September, and I canned the whole thing and went back to my safe zone in my big planner. Um, but um, my big planner is just so big. I love it. I love having the space when I need it. When I'm in the classic, I get frustrated because I don't have the space when I need it. But before my anxiety, I need to have this central point where everything lives. And you would think that makes more sense in a big because you have more space to keep stuff in, but it is a pain in the ass to tote around. And so I think that a classic makes more sense in that aspect. But um, between the last few days, I've just been feeling like I have information floating all over the place and my head is about ready to explode. And I just wanted to give you guys an example or show you what that looks like for me, um, because I thought maybe people in the planning community could have an idea of how I could tone this down and really narrow down to what I really need. And some of these things are kind of separate, so they're not something I need to carry around with me all the time. But what better place to discuss this with than with other people who do this? So let's just take a look at what we've got here. And I'm plugged in because it's the end of the day and I barely had any juice left. So I have 3 piles here. First pile are 2 things that I would say don't really need to be around. One is my Christmas planner. If I had done this differently, I probably would have put this physically in my planner. And also, I do not need this size to plan my Christmas information. I could have gone with a mini notebook or even a macro notebook, probably micro notebook. And I would have been just fine because, as you can see, I'm on mini rings and I got like that. Most of that is empty note paper. So it doesn't necessarily need to be there. This is technically my daughter's. She's 5, and so it's really just a lot of drawing. But what we were trying to keep track of in here were her chores, things that she needed to do, and it was partially for me because it would be like 9 o'clock at night and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to help her remember to change the cat litter or whatever. And so I think some of this stuff is going to move to a chart rather than a planner, and then I'll just let this for her to plan with me when she wants. So these things, the information in here, reminding myself to help her with chores is needs to go in my main planner somehow, because having it separate ain't cutting it. I'm forgetting. The second, these are the planners that I am in on a daily basis, and we're going to come back to those. This second set of planners, and I realize one of them here is not a happy planner, also in these daily, and I don't know that there's much I can change about this situation, but I just want to include everything. This stuff actually all lives at work. This is my lab notebook. I'm a chemist. And this notebook, this middle notebook, is the one that I take to meetings. And I have lab meetings, individual meetings, and group meetings. And again, this is really great, and it's ideal for me because I have what's the date on here? Oh, 2018. Okay. And here I am. So this is all I take for lab meetings. Once a week, I have a lab meeting. Every other week, I have an individual meeting. And again, not very much information. Yep, 2018. And then group meetings, same. Well, those are more of these probably. All right, it's a little bit thicker, but not much. All right, so the rest of this, look at this. It's just paper floating around. So this is how much paper I have in here. Okay, so can I fit that into a planner so I can just take my planner with me? Maybe, but then I'm lugging this big old thing around. I don't know. So then I have this paper, which I actually am probably going to scratch this project. This was just an extra notebook I had, and I started using it to scratch notes while I'm doing experiments. And then when I needed to write down the information formally in my lab notebook, I could just grab that piece of paper out real quick. This is trash. Like if this thing lit on fire, my heart would not be broken. There's nothing important in there. And then my lab notebook, while it is not a planner, it is something else that I have to spend time writing, drawing, and doing things in. So it is part of my paper process that has to stay in place. So that is important to me because it is time consuming, and yes, it is something I do at work most of the time, but it is brain focus on paper. So then my main stuff here, so this is my faith planner. It lives in my a bag that I take to church with my Bible, and it is separate from, I think, the norm. I would prefer that be its own thing, separate. It is a classic. Then this is what's in my bag every day, these two items. I just started trying this out. So I have some undated version in the front here, but I've been using this for work for things that this is not decorated, things that do not matter. Planning my experiments. So just scratching out, okay, on this day, I'm going to do this, and this, and this. I know in 2 weeks, the guys coming to work on our incubators, so I might just write that down on that day. It's kind of a brain dump of planning work stuff, and it's functional, it's working well, except it's not in my main planner. So if I forget to pull it out of my bag all day, it sits in my bag. So right now I think there's 14 months on here. It's on classic rings. So it's working, but could use some tweaking. All right, and I'm gonna sit you down here for just a second because I want to grab 2 things, so hang tight. Okay, this is not my day job, so I don't have any cool intro and exits and cuts and etc. etc. So this is my current planner. It is a big, and it is an hourly, and this is what the top looks like. So my monthly, this situation definitely contributing to my anxiety. Not a fan of how there's way too much going on here. Not a fan at all. I mean, I love these stickers, but I should have used them for something else. This is what caused the problem right here. So this is just an example of half of my week. A lot of information, not too much white space. I think, well, so these are shorter actually. I don't have it in here. But the hourly that I actually have for 2020, I think these parts are shorter. I think it starts at 6, if I'm correct. And then, so what I have in here, I have my everything planner. Everything goes in here. And then I have my own personal section that's just got like fun stuff. Here we made a date night bingo. And once we do that, then in the middle one, we're going to do something expensive once we get the bingo part. I have fantasy football tracking. That's really important stuff. I have work stuff in here, some projects I was working on, stuff like that, experiment list. I have my kids section is empty right now. I haven't had anything in there. And then I have my fitness section, which is actually a big wellness at the moment. This is what the month looks like. I have my month planned out in order. I'm training for a marathon in the spring, so that's what I'm doing right now. And then so here's what my week looks like. I haven't written anything down today, as you can tell. So again, information, not a lot of space. I have a couple of flippy things in here. And then I have my bills back here, where I have if I could get there, I have some notes first, and then it's just like a giant, that's about the most blank space I have in I do not even use these middle pieces. I end up pulling them out and giving them away usually. And then I have a folder with some bills and stuff, and then extra paper in the back. So that's what my big planner looks like. What I stepped away to pull out was 2 things. This is my planner from 2017. And it was a vertical, so it was pretty open, and actually I wasn't really using a lot of stickers, as you can see. I was using more color coding, which maybe I should go back to that actually. The kids section was huge. This was a busy week for me, and I still had quite a bit of room. That's also vertical, the 3 sections. It's not lined or hourly. Maybe that's what I need to go back to. I don't know. So I liked this, but I can't really recall off the top of my head why I decided I needed to switch to a classic. So I did switch to a classic. Good grief. Flipping these things with one hand is like not very easy. Alright, I'm just gonna have to set it out of the way. Ugh. Okay, so This was, I think I have showed some people, this is about a month and a half, and it does not count. My fitness is not in here, but my budget is, and neither are my sections. So this is just my monthly calendar, or my with the weeks, of course, and my budget does not include anything else, and this is only a month. And so there's 1 week with all this there's a week with a bunch of information, a note page. October was the busiest month, I think, for us. Well, it usually is. All of our kids' birthdays are in October, so I'm usually broke and busy. But I did a little bit of memory keeping. I don't do it like every day, so I don't have a separate planner for it. I just usually make the page and then stick it in when I file it away. So between 2 weeks, I have a flippy that I wrote the household stuff on because I didn't have room. A day that was really, really packed, so I got out some hourly stickers and wrote down stuff. Disregard that because it's not normal. And a ton of notes. And same, so the next week, a little bit more simple, but couple flippies. Inserts, whatever. My husband calls them flippies, and that's kind of what I started calling them. And in an insert page with notes, and then, oh yeah, I got new pens. So, I mean, I don't know. Clearly I felt like this was too much, I guess. Why did I switch back to big? I feel like this is a ridiculous problem to have. But it is a struggle. And I think I fear that by going classic only, I won't be able to fit everything in. So, like, I've got all these books around me and all this information that my brain needs to have in one place. And I am freaking out, y'all. Like, this is ridiculous. And it's overwhelming, and it actually makes me want to walk away. And it makes me want to do digital planning. But I know that I don't like that. I will start it because I've done it. I will start it, and a month in, I'm annoyed because I can't flip to my section real fast. I like my crayons. I like my colored pencils and pens and stickers. I grew up scrapbooking with my mom, and so I think that having stickers it's just part of who I am. I was a Franklin Covey user for a really long time, but I always had highlighters and oodles of colors all over the place. Side note, did you know that Franklin Covey now sells stickers? I was perusing, my mom's still a Franklin Covey user, and so that's what I usually get her for Christmas is her, I usually pick out her next year's planner, just something I've done for many, many years, and they have stickers. It's crazy, and pens, and all these other happy planner-ish things. It's really a trend. So, I don't know. I'm probably going to spend the rest of the evening driving my son to baseball practice and deciding and panicking about what I'm going to do before 2020 starts. Any input is greatly appreciated. Any thoughts? If you've done this before, earlier today, I had a lapse in judgment and asked about going to a mini and just stuffing the sucker full and using expander rings, but I think I truly know that that's not smart and that wouldn't serve any good purpose for me. And if you haven't noticed, the stress is getting to me. We have an Army formal in about 5 days, so I better get my poop in a group and maybe this will clear up too. But if you have any thoughts, please share them. I can hear someone screaming upstairs and Dad is trying to get shit under control, so I better leave and go help.